Hey guys, I'm Randy Unger, co-host of Nostalgia Time and Unger the Radar, host of that show. And with me is co-host Matt Haberman, Kid Champagne. And this is a very special show because we've got a wonderful panel of guests from Nickelodeon's 90s sci-fi children's show, The Secret World of Alex Mack. I personally grew up on this show. I loved it. It was different. It was fun. It was zany. It was well acted. And yeah, I've got with me, we've got Natanya Ross, who played Robin Russo. We also have actor Jason Strickland, who played Scott. And also, last but not least, we have Mr. Tommy Lynch, co-creator of the show. Guys, welcome. This is amazing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, welcome.
We're honored.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
Of course, anytime. This is really, really surreal right now, I must say. So first off, Tommy, how did you and Ken Kipman come up with the idea for the show?
The idea came from my youth. Basically, my father was a nuclear physicist, and he had in our garage little granulars of radioactive isotope that he just would lay in the garage. That if today you had that, they would have shut the whole block down. But that's what he did. And I always thought, what would happen if I ate that? So I went to Nickelodeon. I said, I wanted to tell a story about an outsider, which I always felt I was an outsider. And then Nick had come to me, and Nick had said, I was doing a show at CBS called Riders in the Sky, and I had done Kids Incorporated. So I had this kind of kid thing going on. And an executive at Nickelodeon said, we want you to help us put shows on this new network. And I said, okay. I said, you're going to have to give me 6 pilot commitments, and one of them has to shoot. I'll write or supervise or whatever, 6 pilots. Okay, fine. They did that. And then I came up with the idea of, Ken had been working with me on Kids Incorporated. And I came up with the idea for Alex Mack, and I talked about it with him, and he said, let me help you with it. Or I said, help me with it, however that went. And we just went and did it. I think my idea of it was the idea of this kind of kid outsider, supernatural, bigger idea that had an intimate story to tell under it. And it was based on the strangest of things, on Raiders of the Lost Ark. I had seen 2 shows were influential in them, I think, in the show. One was Hill Street Blues, which was Stephen Bochco's show. And it was the first show I saw that told multiple stories. It's the first time it dawned on me that it happened. I'm like, well, why aren't kids getting multiple stories? Because at that time, they got a very simple A story. Then I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was like, well, kids like action adventure. Why aren't they doing that? And I thought, we're going to make this a single camera. Literally, that was my ignorance and innocence allowed me to go, that's what I'm going to go do. And then with Ken, what Ken brought to it was a real good depth of character. Ken understood. He was a playwright, and he understood character. I understood very clearly story and what this story should be, and visually what this should be. He understood how to make these characters more dimensionalized, and that's how we kind of worked really fluid together. That was it.
And the rest is history. Amazing.
Legendary.
No, the rest is a friggin' disaster. Are you kidding me? That was the easy part. The rest of it was, we get the script written, and Nickelodeon says, hey, we love, Nickelodeon had said, well, it's one of 2 pilots we're considering. And me being the person I am, I found out what that other pilot was, and I saw it, and I called the Nickelodeon. I said, are you kidding me? Take mine out of the mix. That show's a piece of garbage. I'm not, we don't even compare to us. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to do your show. And then the other part was, when they ordered the pilot, they couldn't afford to pay for it all. And I just said, yeah, we'll go do it. And I took their money, and I needed more money. And I had to spend a bunch of time running around trying to find another distributor or international, whatever I was doing with it. And I literally mortgaged my house to get that pilot made. And so, because I needed to get some more money.
1 second, we've got a special guest, surprise guest, Darris Love. Hello, Darris.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time out of your Super Bowl Sunday.
No. Thank you for 25 plus years of continued being a part of the Alex Mack family and doing this for us. This is so needed. And I heard the Tommy boy, please let him take over. That's the captain of the ship.
Sorry about that, Tommy.
No, I am nothing without these three. It does not exist without people and Larissa. It doesn't exist. It's not there. But anyways, the journey was, as all journeys, it was complicated. It was filled with failure. It was filled with fear, but it got done, and it became, the audience accepted it, and it was great. I mean, Darris just stole my heart the first time I saw him. His family, I love his family. We're very connected. He's my nephew. I mean, I just fell in love with him. That's it. And he just lit it up. He gave Larissa something to play off of. Natanya joined in because Natanya, we needed something to accent the innocence of youth, but also the determination of youth. And she had a really quirky way of doing it. She was like this outside character that kind of everybody went, she's cool, but she's a little different. She's cool. And it really added, everything was in service of promoting, of making sure this character of Alex Mack could exist as kind of a normal kid in an abnormal world. So everybody around them had to be a little bit quirky and different. And Jason still thanks me for getting to kiss Jessica Alba. Okay.
Yes.
Jason was the hunk. He was the hunky guy, right? The cute guy. And Jessica Alba, you know, was a beautiful young lady at that time, you know, 12 or 13. And Jason, he got to fuck. I remember a certain nervousness. There was a nervousness that day when you had to do that kiss thing on all parts. Jessica, I think, was cool with it. She was very, she acted in very much, she was very, okay, that's what we're doing. It was just the same as take a pie in the face. Got it, no problem. Jason was a little bit more, you know, wanted to be appropriate. And then, you know, I think Darris gave him some tips. Darris was very smooth. He was very smooth.
I love that. I love
That's
that
the
story. That's awesome.
Forever thankful for that moment, Tommy, for you to write that, for you to create that. It's now all downhill from there.
Yeah.
You get to kiss Jessica Alba, and then it just went downhill from there.
That's the pinnacle.
Well,
That was the pinnacle.
To you, Jason, how did it feel playing the lead crush?
It was such an honor. I mean, just to be with this cast and to be with Tommy too. I mean, so I came from Tommy's last episode of Kids Incorporated, which you can go out and find out there. It's surfacing. It's called Mr. Wendell, I believe. And I think the episode's called Mr. Wendell. And it was amazing because Ken and Tommy had this creative vision, and they had it actually during the wrap party of Kids Incorporated and transitioning, you know, with what they were doing. They kind of whispered a little something to me on the side. I remember Ken talking to me a little bit about it, and Tommy very excited about going on, when normally at the end of a big run like Kids Incorporated, people are a little sad, you know, there at the wrap party. But there was this, you know, real joy in Tommy and Ken that there was something that they were cooking up. And when we all got those calls to go in and to be a part of the audition process for that one, it was incredible. And I'll never forget getting this role and literally having Tommy and Ken go, "You're going to thank us. Wait until you see your girlfriend. You're going to thank us. Wait till you see your girlfriend."
That's awesome.
And it was like the best experience of my life to be with Tommy. There's no producers like him and Ken and everybody in the crew. That's why 90s nostalgia and 90s films and TV really have to be preserved in an amazing way. So thank you for having us, because these stories are something that just need to live on. I really truly believe the 90s were the best times, you know, for film and for television. And, you know, things of course gotten better over the years too, but you know, it's just a real joy. So thank you guys.
Well, you know,
For Nickelodeon, because in the 90s, Nickelodeon was, my eyes were glued to TV at all during the 90s.
yeah. And with this, our show Nostalgia Time, we love to celebrate all things that have impacted us in such a profound way. And I was about maybe 9 or 10 when the show first came out, and you know, it was great. I had a crush on Larissa Olenek, and it was, you know, just a very fun show, very quirky and different at the time. And again, I would watch Nickelodeon after school, like religiously. Natanya, what was your audition process like?
It was long.
Okay.
I originally auditioned for the part of Alex.
Mm.
And had a few callbacks there, and then they called my agent and said we wanted to come back for the sister part, and I was like, okay. So I went back and auditioned for Annie, and had like a few callbacks in that process, and then they cast the pilot and shot the pilot, which I obviously was not in, and after that they recast the show. So I went back, they called me back for the part of Alex again, and I did that whole deal, and then for Annie again, and I did that whole deal, and I didn't get it. And then I didn't really hear anything about the show for like, I don't know, a month or so. And then my agent called me and said, there's this really special part they wrote, and they think you're perfect for it. Just go down there, you're gonna get it. It's yours. It's your role to get. Just go. And I was like, okay, let's try this again. So I went back to that casting office in Valencia. I can actually like still see it. And I really expected to walk in with no other actors there auditioning for this role. And there were so many girls there. I was so annoyed and pissed off, which probably translated a little bit into this, like, you described it as quirky. I like that. But you know, Robin Russo, I really like get her more and more the older that I get, but I think something in my annoyance kind of translated into the way that I, you know, read my lines. And so I did that, and then I got a call back again for Robin, and then like a little mini screen test thing, and then finally I got the fucking part.
Finally, thank God. Yes.
Okay, let me just say that is all absolutely true. I still to this day have a casting process that is painful. It is painful. And it's not about the actors. It's about me making sure it's right. I can name any one of the other shows I've done. I just go, I got to make sure it's right. I got to make sure it's right. But then simultaneously, once I work with one of the actors, it's like, hey, Natanya, can you get on a plane and come to Toronto? And because I got this little movie part, you got to come on up there. And you spent like a month up in Toronto with us, right?
No, it was making that movie. It was longer. We were there for a couple months. It's like one of my favorite movies I've ever done. I think I've told you this like later on. You didn't know this because, you know, I was a little older. I'd already done a couple seasons of Alex Mack. And so I was probably like 14, 15 when we did that. And I was dating Chauncey the whole time in Canada. And it was like,
I had no idea of that. None. I would have stopped that bullshit right away.
It was like,
I'd have fired him.
And we just thought it was so funny. We were like, jokes on Tommy for like bringing us up to Toronto and making us do all night shoots for like 2 months, like all night shoots. So we're just up all night long. Yeah, still one of my favorite projects I've worked on. But yeah, that's my auditioning process with Alex Mack. And when I got the part, it was only supposed to be 2 or 3 episodes in the first season, and I kind of got through those episodes, and then I don't know who, someone called my agent and offered me like a pretty regular role on the show, and I ended up being in most of the episodes to the bitter end.
Very good. Very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Tom, you have been credited for creating some other great shows, The Secret World of Alex Mack, The Journey of Alan Strange, and also one of my favorite on Disney, The Jersey. Does any of those shows have a good ranking in you? Do you feel like one stands out the most?
You know, it's interesting because when I make television shows, it's different than my contemporaries. My television shows always come from a part of me, so they're very personal to me. I have contemporaries that are very much, this is the show I'm going to make next because it's going to work or whatever. But mine, they all have to come from some part of me. And they're like my children. I mean, it's truly asking me who are my favorite children. And on certain days, I have favorite children. I can tell you that right now. On other days, I kind of break it down over, I've been doing this for 4 decades, which, oh my God. So the first decade would have been, I started directing music videos and doing that kind of thing. And that's where Kids Incorporated came in because my son was born and I didn't want him hanging around rock and roll. Like I did a real parental thing. And I wrote, the night they sent me home from the hospital, I wrote Kids Incorporated, which was, I don't know how a 25 or 26-year-old kid could write a show, a musical that had never run a show, Nobody bought it. I got on an airplane. I flew to every station around the country in those days, and I sold it. And then MGM came and aimed to it once it was sold, and they let me make it. Like today, that cannot happen. They would not let me exist today. I would not exist. And so that was very important to me because it taught me about story. The Secret World of Alex Mack was very important to me because it was a reflection of where I've been quoted as. People always kind of either with compliment or with criticism say I write shows, fantasy shows. And I think that's untrue. What I write shows the way that kids' lives should be. I have no interest in showing I think that being young is a magical time of life. And I want that in my shows. And that's what I do. So the Secret World of Alex Mack gave me the ability to become a better filmmaker and a better writer. And Ken helped me along that way of becoming a better writer. Because he, as I said, he's a playwright and he was a very learned guy. And I would say things like, I need to have an avalanche. And he goes, okay, well, how do we get there? I don't care. We're having a friggin' avalanche. And then we'd work on the story. He always kind of anchored it, which was a real essential part of the show. Then after that came South of Nowhere, which was about a girl coming out in high school. And that became more kind of social. I started understanding the power of television. It became powerful. Then came the Class of 3000, which was the animated show, which was the first. I didn't know this. And this is crazy, Darris. I was picked as one of the top 10 African-American shows ever in the history of television.
Wow.
Me. And Darris helped me get that show.
Tommy, Tommy, do you remember the day you were closing the deal with Andre 3000?
Darris helped me get that show. I'm sitting talking to Andre 3000.
No, I didn't.
Just nominated for 8 Grammys. I don't know if he's going to come do the show or not. The phone rings or the office says, Darris Love is here. And I'm like, okay. I always had this rule that any of the people I worked with, any of the actors, the young actors, they can see me at any time. They have the same access as my children. They're here. Come bring them in. I didn't like
true
the
story
distance from them. And Darris walks in. He sees Andre. I don't know if he knew Andre now. He goes, Andre, brother, Tommy's the man. Do this shit. And I'm like, and the guy from Atlanta was there, a white guy who was head of Turner, is looking at me. And after it's all over, he goes, did you plan that? I said, I swear to God, I did not plan that. But so that was the first interracial show that was done in television. I mean, in animation, there was every ethnic background was in that. And then after that would have been what was the one after that? And then, I just finished one where it was a Make It Pop, which is about a K-pop band. I did that because I like K-pop music. So I did a show around it. So everything's got a personal touch. Alex Mack was the one that gave me my life. It gave me my life. It just definitely gave me the life. It allowed me, not in terms of wealth, because all of us worked on scale and little money, but it gave, that show hit culturally, it changed children's television. Yeah. That's what it did. It went from being kind of low end, stupid stuff, pardon me, that they do, to something that, wait a minute, these shows can be meaningful. It invented the dramedy. They say that show created the tween genre. And so that's what it did. And so that's where it gave me the lease to be. It gave me the permission to walk into people's offices and say, here's the next show I'm going to make. And sometimes it works.
And we thank you for that contribution.
And now Jason Strickland's picked up the baton, Tommy. The student has become the teacher.
Dude, and he better employ me one day. He better send me a job. I'll do rewrites or punch-ups. I'm all good.
You better wait in line. You better wait in line.
And
we're all in line, Tommy. We're all in line.
Oh,
you know what? Speaking
so
of that,
humbled.
Jason, what was it like the transition from being in front of the camera to behind it?
It's very humbling. It's super humbling. I actually knew at 14 years old, that I wanted to be behind the camera than on camera. I just was always told that, hey, look, you're not going to be able to be behind the camera directing at your age at 14, 15 years old. So get on camera because you're going to get a lot more experience. So I was surrounded by amazing people like Tommy and, and so many others. John Voight was a very intricate part of my life. Getting a chance to learn from him.
Stay Stallone.
Yes. Yeah. Sage, Stallone. So I grew up with the Stallones. Before I was on The Secret World of Alex Mack, my first film school, I was 14 years old. It was on the set of Cliffhanger, which is Sylvester Stallone's, big action movie. And, you know, what we did was Sage and I, his son, we flew there and we stayed there for 12 weeks. And Sly said, all right, every week we're going to put you in a different category, division, and you're going to have to choose what you want to do. You know, choose what you're going to want to be a part of in the business after this. So yeah, it was just very humbling, but I'm thankful to now try to continue and champion my friends and family, to continue to get work and provide for them as well. You know, Darris and Natanya and Tommy, my gosh, I'm going to hold you to that. I would absolutely love to work with you on a project, and we will work with you on a project.
Someone has to give me my comeback. I don't care who it is. One of you fuckers
Yes.
to step up and give it. I'm ready. I never looked better, never felt better. Let's go. Let's do this.
I agree. I totally agree. And we are actually working on that right now.
I know.
For Natanya, because
Me
we
and
love
Jason
her so much.
We've been talking.
Good.
Yeah.
Let me
So-
just tell you, Randy,
Yeah.
Natanya was like that at 12. You better get me a good part. You better move this on. It's all there.
And that spark has
Oh.
gotten brighter and brighter over the years, I'm sure.
Yes. She's amazing. She's
great.
amazing. And that's what really, truly it should be. You know, this movie industry is something about relationships. And, you know, Tommy hit on something to where, you know, if you're entering the business and you're getting things going, you're going to start at a SAG scale. You're going to start in these SAG, you know, scale levels. And you should start where your heart is not about finances. It's about actually taking that finance and putting it on the screen as much as you can. Put that money up on the screen because it's a legacy that we're doing. You know, like for you guys, we're so grateful to be with you guys, saying stories like 9, 10, 11 years old. We get DM messages from so many people that literally are like, you helped me in my life.
Yeah.
That is why we are filmmakers. That is why we're in this business. It's truly not about the money. It's just truly about passion and how many people you could help, champion, and love along the way. So this is my family on the phone right here. So
this is, since we're all talking with family, I'm going to definitely show this show to my son when he's old enough to understand it. But what life lessons should I point out to him when he watches this show in like 5 or 7 years from now?
I just think, you know, I have 4 sons that I've raised that were babies during this whole time, and they grew up around sets all their life. And if anything that I think the shows taught them or that they took from the shows was that friends stick together. You know, just friends stick together no matter what. If you look at Alex Mack, there's all kinds of bullshit going on between Robin and Alex, and between Darris and Robin, and Darris and Dad and Alex and Jason. And at the end of the day, the only thing you have in life is your friends and family. And the coda of the show was the family coming together, was the Mack family coming together. Daddy Mack, who was always kind of a little goofier than he should have been, he stood up for what was going on. Mama Mack jumped into the fray. Buildings blew up. Her sister, who was always kind of torturous to Alex, Meredith was always kind of torturous to Alex. They all came together, and I think that's it. I think, you know, life, I don't know. Life is a great adventure, man, and just enjoy it and go after it and fail and do. And this is all in hindsight. I was not cognizant of any of that stuff making it. I was really just trying to do something that wasn't stupid. That was it. I just don't want to be stupid. I don't want to be the Mickey Mouse Club. I don't want to be some stupid sitcom. I don't want to do that. I want to touch emotions and give value to kids of this age that they do have value. And so in hindsight, to me, it was just about friends sticking together, which was cool.
Nice. Excellent.
it was beautifully said.
Very, very beautiful. And
Beautifully said.
Jason and Tanya, and I wanted to ask Darris as well, but it looks like he's MIA at the moment.
That's Darris. I'm telling you, there he is.
Jesus, it scared me.
Hey guys, sorry, I was getting my outfit ready. I'm back. What's up?
This question goes to the 3 actors here. What was it like being on a TV show in your formative years?
it was the best time of my life, and I have a great life. Because it was the building blocks, it was the foundation that prepared me for everything else. Because if you don't start, you know, grounded, this was the education for not just the entertainment life, but how to go about life in general, right? A lot of the stuff I learned at Alex Mack, it was more than just, it was like, I actually grew there. I was
You did.
raised on the set. So
you were.
everybody that put a part in that, it was a village. You know, I had good brothers like Todd Hilliard, Alex White, rest in peace. I mean, brothers that would take time out and have that conversation with me about, hey man, you know, I gotta drive back to this ghetto where all my people are getting killed and getting shot. And I would have these conversations with Alex or Todd, and they would just remind me of, look at how blessed you are, and look at the light and the example and opportunity you have to be a different example. And these type of conversations, right, you wouldn't be having with your normal PA or your first AD, right? But this was a family setting. This was a different energy, bro. Like, I mean, I don't know if Paul and Sarah hooked up, but I think people got married from this show. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
like,
they did.
You see what I'm saying? It was total family. It was not fake. It wasn't, you know, 25 years later, me and Jason, we have multiple projects together. This is my family. Like Natanya, you know, like she could call me at any time on my way to Super Bowls. I seen her Zoom. It wasn't my agent, MMG. It was Natanya's Zoom that got me here on time. So that's the connection, you know, and that's for life, and that's eternal. Awesome. And I'll say this last thing. I went into Tommy's office, right? I'm like, Tommy, you know, I want to buy a car, man. I want to buy a car. You know, I've been saving my money. I helped buy my family a house, move them out of Watts. I want to buy a car. He says, you know what? I'm going to help you get a car. I'm going to get you a car. Wow. And this was, you know, I didn't even expect it. You know, this was something. I remember one day we rode out in the 740 IL and we were listening to the Bop Gun with George Clinton and Ice Cube. We had just bought the 740 IL. We took it for a spin. And it was just amazing to have those moments with your, supposedly your boss, right? Your executive producer, right? Who's literally like dad. Like, what do you guys need? What do you want? You good? You good? You need anything? It was just total fun going on the set to where we didn't realize it was work. Nice. We didn't realize it was work.
That's so cool.
I love this question. I want to speak to this too.
Yeah.
Well, I should have fucking asked for a car too. What was wrong? All I got was
Tommy.
All I got was like perfume from you every year. Jeez. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You gave me a movie, so I'll take that any day.
Right.
I love this question. And I get asked this so often too, you know, and a lot of people ask me if I've gone back and rewatched the show, and sometimes I do. I haven't like rewatched the whole show, but if you look at me in season 1, I can like see it. If you look at me in season 1, right? I'm like very young, very like long orange hair, pale, like on the brink of womanhood. And then if you look at me in the very last season, I think I'm 15 or 16 years old, and I've really come into myself, you know. And for me, it makes me emotional to even think about that. And I had so many of my firsts being on this show outside of, you know, playing Robin. Just in my real life, all these firsts were happening, and I got to share that with the people that I was making this show with. And, you know, and also too, for me, life at home was really hard, you know, and not a lot of the people on the show knew that. There was a lot of stuff going on at home that was really hard. And this show saved my life in a lot of ways, because I had somewhere I could go every day. And, you know, I'm the kind of person, I'm always looking for family, you know, and even at that young age, I knew that that's something that my soul needed to feel kind of part of something bigger than myself. And that's what this show provided for me. And as I've gotten older too, the character of Robin Russo has meant more and more to me. Even, I mean, listen, when you're a kid and you're doing like a first season of a show, and even though I'd been acting since I was 2, so like at this point I felt seasoned. I'm like, this is like the 10th television show I've been on. Like, this is, you know, and you don't realize how big it's becoming outside of that bubble that you're filming it in. And it's, 25 years later that this show means so much to people still, is like, wow, like what we created. So I'm incredibly grateful to have spent like the majority of my formative years on this show with these people. And, outside of the show too, like we really did have these friendships that's rare on a show like this, especially with a bunch of kids turning into teenagers with the hormones and the this and the that. There was like all of this stuff going on. And, Darris and I, outside of shooting, were best friends. We really were. I took Darris with me freaking everywhere, and Darris was the only boy that was allowed to come into my bedroom and like the door didn't have to necessarily be opened because there he is.
Nothing like that, guys. Nothing like that. Nothing like that.
It wasn't like
Strickland's
that.
sister.
Yeah, he really did just take care of me, and Larissa and I experienced a lot of our, kind of exciting teenage stuff together outside of shooting too. So this was, it was really special. It was really special. And just like Tommy said, this show gave him his life. Like this show did the same for me. It gave me the most special character I've ever played that will always be my favorite. No matter anything else I ever do in my life, this show will always be, what put me on the map.
And that idea of family, I had no idea that you guys were so close during production. Yeah. That's so amazing.
25 years later, we still are.
That's so amazing. Yeah.
We're still this close. It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's special. We know it's rare. We don't. That's not lost on us. We know it's rare. Yeah.
Cool.
I do have one question. I know for working with the late Luann Gideon, how was that like?
Wow.
I loved Luann. She was a special woman for sure. She took for whatever reason, the adults on the show took like a special interest in me. I've always been like a spitfire, like since I could talk, and I've always felt kind of older than I am, and I was just desperate to like soak up all of the knowledge of the older actors on the show. So her and I had some really interesting conversations, and she was really special. I mean, I don't know her as well as Tommy did by any means, but what she provided for me in the short time that we were able to work together, it was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, she was I didn't know Luann had passed. I did not know that.
I know. Yeah.
She was interesting. When she was in the pilot, and we had a director who did the pilot that he made that fatal mistake that you guys all know when a director's not doing my show and they think they're doing their show. It doesn't work out good. So I have great priority over my kids and my shows and what the show material is. And so her and he started dating after the pilot was made. And I had to go to her and I said, look, I'd like you to come back. I'm not bringing the director back. Just to put it to her, like it's a personal thing. She looked at me and said, great, thank you. No problem. I'll be there. Like no emotion, no. She was a pro. She was going to show up no matter what was going on in her personal life. She was going to show up. And she also was, you guys are old enough, I can tell you this now. There was something so sexy yet untouchable and unapproachable about her that I thought would make a great villainess. Because on first look, you see her, she looked to me like a lady that today would wear just Prada or something, very together, very fashionable and very attractive, but there was no way she was going to let a guy get near her. That just she was run our mission. And I don't know why I found that to be part evil and part wonderful, but it was interesting for me at that time to put a woman in as a villain was not done. Nobody did it. And I remember talking to the network about it. They go, well, really should get a guy, whatever. I go, no, that's been done. That's stupid. I got Vince. I got this nut running around following her like a lapdog. That'll work. That's fine. But there was a little bit of pushback. But Luann, it was an interesting, when you're an adult actor on one of my shows, you are in service to the younger actors. And that's a discussion I have with all the adults. I don't want to hear about you have enough pages. I don't want to hear you just in one scene, because everything is in the service of these guys' relationships. Everything is in it. And she was a total pro about that. She's like, great. And she showed up ready to play anytime. She was ready to go. Let me just say, by the way, when you guys were talking about all the fun on the set and all that stuff, how it was a family, none of these people on camera here or Larissa ever showed up less than 100% prepared. They did not. It was unthinkable. It was unthinkable. Whatever they were doing that I didn't know about, they knew they were getting up at 4 a.m. to learn their lines. They would not show up on that set. There was always a different show. I was directing this other show, Just Deal, one of my shows, and the lead actor showed up one day a little hungover. Oh, that's okay. And I'm directing a sequence where it's just a little walk and talk down a track field. Well, I did 18 takes of that, and he leaned over and threw up, and I leaned in his ear and I said, you ever take my time away from me and I'll fire you. Okay, next setup, let's go. He was on time, but you guys intuitively knew, as we intuitively knew, that we had to protect these young actors on a set. Because you got to remember, at that time, kid shows were the low end of it. People didn't give a shit about it. They didn't pay for it. They didn't care. They thought it was just tonnage. And this show fundamentally changed it and made it cinematic. And we intuitively knew that we had to be a protective environment for them. There was none of that. Today you hear about the sexual harassment and abuse and all that. That never happened on my shows. That was not gonna. I would kill somebody rather than, like, if someone walked on our set, we would know. Bob Moore, one of the producers, I said, Bob, who's that? He'd walk right up and go, who are you? Why are you here? And nobody was gonna, I wasn't gonna allow that to happen, or use everything in my control not to have that happen. So we intuitively knew that we had to provide a safe environment. They intuitively knew they were being treated as adults and professionals, and they damn well better show up like that. And they did. They always did. So
that's great.
You lead by example.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And they were a great example for me to follow. No doubt about it.
It's awesome. Jason, we kind of skipped over you, but I just wanted to hear from you in regards to growing up being on a TV show.
Oh, it was just amazing. It was the 90s. Things were different. As we grew up now to be adults, you hear about all these interesting things that may have happened in the business. But we were just so blessed and fortunate to have people like Tommy, who was just explaining to you how he would go through the lengths that he would go to just keep us safe. And thank you, Tommy. And thank you to all those that we always had that opportunity to create. And if you ever take somebody's passion to create from them, that's like ripping a limb from somebody's heart or soul. And that's what was just so neat about growing up on a show like The Secret World of Alex Mack, or other shows in the 90s too. But this one more particular, because there was that sense. We filmed this right across the way from, Magic Mountain. Okay. So if you guys are ever in California and know of Magic Mountain, we were right down the street. And you know what was so awesome about our rap parties was we got the chance to go to Magic Mountain. And I had other friends that would come to the set and visit. One of my good friends back then was Brandon Call. He started on Step by Step, right. And he played JT on that show. And we grew up just as best friends. And he came to The Secret World of Alex Mack, and he would be like, wait, what do you mean? Your guys' rap parties are at Magic Mountain? Like, his rap parties would just be on the back lots of, they were filmed at Warner Brothers. I did 4 episodes of that show too. And it was not anything like the way Tommy created this show. And I now have a sense of passion to want to create and direct in that same fashion. I want to live that legacy, with Tommy, and to continue that. So for me, it was absolutely amazing to act because it was a choice. My mom, I had a great mother who raised my brother and I by herself. I came from hard stuff as well. My father left us completely, never seen him ever again. Heard from again when I was 8 years old. So a lot of people that come back onto this show talk to us, people like you guys yourself that were going through hard times, and they would come home from school and see this show. That to me is the most delight that I was able to be a part of this process and to still have these amazing people to be my family in my life. So, you know, to answer that question in a little bit more of a summed up answer, I wish I could. I can just literally go on. It was an amazing experience, and you know, everyone should get that chance to have amazing experiences in their lives.
And to have that second family, I know that's a strong theme right now with you guys. It's really nice to hear that you had a great experience on the show.
Also, I want to just say really quick too, I think another thing that was really special for each one of us, like individually too, is like every you know, the playing Robin, I didn't realize until a little later on, and I guess I semi realized it at the time too, that because the way this character was written, so realistic, so just unabashedly true to herself, depressed, sarcastic, pessimistic, paranoid, and 1,000 other words I could use to describe her. That there was neurotic. Yeah, there was a huge fan base of young girls and boys that felt the same way Robin felt, that dressed a little different, that was like still best friends with these really clean cut good kids, but like she was just, you know, quite the oddball, and sometimes totally owned it, and then other times was like so insecure about who she was. So, you know, I think that was really meaningful for kids too, to have a character to relate to like that. You know, and it made for some interesting fans for me. You know, there were a few kind of, you know, where we had to get a little careful and be like, oof, this is a fan letter that might be dangerous, you know, but for the most part, just like the coolest kids that really related to this character. And like I said, as I've gotten older, I can understand and appreciate her more. And like, I really feel like Robin now more so than when I was a kid. I was so innocent and like, whoa, just experiencing life. But now that I'm almost 40 years old, which is crazy to say out loud, I can really look at this character and appreciate, like, you know, who she was for sure.
Wow. Such a connection to the character. I never really heard.
Robin's special.
Yeah.
Robin is special. There's not, you know, I mean, even watching all the shows and stuff I watch now, like I've never really seen another character quite like her that's just put in like Paradise Valley, USA, like anywhere USA, basically like a really clean cut area, right? Where there's like this, is she punk rock? Is she goth? Is she, what is she? You know, is she androgynous? I mean, there's so much to her.
Right.
I could have seen,
I've never seen another character like her.
I could have definitely seen Robin in a spinoff for sure.
Something,
Yeah.
you know, and just like a fashionista beyond any, I dub myself as like, and that's all Laura Slakey, you know, God bless that wardrobe department. I mean, just 90s legendary fashion still lives on to this day. They're still talking about Alex Mack's hats, right? They're still talking about Robin's pigtails and like her goth outfits, and you know, it was the best.
Yeah.
The best. Yeah.
Cool.
So one of my questions is, we know we've been seeing so many shows that's been either reboots. We've seen Saved by the Bell. We've seen Girl Meets World on Disney. Do you think that the Secret World of Alex Mack can be returned as some kind of reboot?
Tommy's about to sign off.
No.
Oh shit, we lost Tommy. What happened?
But I will tell you, it's been the never-ending question. I can tell you it's closer now than it's ever been to a reboot, and that's all I can tell you about it. And it's not going to be a reboot. It's not going to be this. It's going to be, I'm hoping, how do I say it? I won't do it unless it's something that's really different, but still holds the same organic truths of it, you know, of the idea of like, if you notice in Alex Mack, it was one of the first shows where the kids were never rescued by their parents. They were never rescued by their parents. They figured out their own stuff. It was one of the first shows where were dating and that kind of thing wasn't looked at as a must. It was looked at as, wow, what's this about? It was almost, because they were at that age, like, whoa, what is that? What is this about? I mean, I still see when Jason kissed Jessica Alba, I don't know if he was acting or not, but he looked like his mind blew. I was like, yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Because it's not, a lot of the shows I think are a little, Alex had a great innocence and a great threat in it. There was, I mean, she was going to get killed. They were going to take her and examine her and slice her up and chop her up and see what made her work. There was a real threat to it all, and a threat to her family. They could have all been fired. I mean, all this stuff went on. And if the parties that all need to come together have agreed in principle. And I think I've been the holdout on it, that like, I'm like, look, you guys, it's not going to go unless it's something that's unique. Because here's the problem. The problem is when you make something great, so much of it is time and place. This is my opinion. It's time and place. So why, with a lot of the reboots, there's they're not good. They're just not good. Some are great and some are not good. And I don't want to be on that not good part. So what I will say is that there is an idea out there. There are platforms talking about it. The essence of it is possible. It's more possible now than it ever was. But I've said that before. It's come up before, and who knows? Would I like to do it? Yes. Would I like to do it and find a way to involve those people that were in the original? Yes. Would I like to do it if we can technologically stay advanced from everybody? The great secret of Alex Mack was, one of the great stories of it was, that whole iconic turning to liquid. The first time they showed me that, that move, guys, right, where she turns to liquid.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that, we're rehearsing the show. There's two guys. I got half of my house is mortgaged to make this show. These two prop guys come up and go, we have the effect of how she does it. Great. They go out on a set. We're at KTLA. I'm out in the back there. They put down some linoleum on the ground. These two guys that, I don't know who they were, prop guys or whatever, pour this kind of viscous material onto the ground, take an air hose and blast it, and it all goes everywhere. I'm like, they just killed my Alex. It was the lamest thing. I literally got on a plane that next morning and went up to meet with George Lucas up at ILM and said, I need to figure out how to make this. And,
Wow.
a bunch of people talked to me, and I met with George and he talked with me a little bit. And we came up with a plan, but to make 3 seconds of what I wanted cost more than the entire budget. So I now knew it was possible to do, but I couldn't afford to do it. And I had to, okay, how are we going to do this? And I get this guy, he just finished Jim Cameron's movie, Titanic. He was one of the effects guys on Titanic.
Mhm.
And I get him, Max something was his name. And I get him, and it all came, in those days, it all came down to rendering. Computer rendering was forever. I rented a house on Mulholland. I put him in there with about 20 computers. And I said, this better end up like this, and you ain't leaving. And for like 3 weeks, all through post-production, he was doing this thing. We literally delivered that pilot with that effect within an hour of the deadline of it. It was like, it was so insane, because I had something in my head and it wasn't made yet, and I had to make it. And it was, that's the innocent part of it all. Like, they were such great actors because they weren't ruined by bad acting coaches, and they came from a naturalistic place. I think half of the beauty of that show came out, the success of that show, more than half came out of what I didn't know and had to get done. I really think it was my innocence as well as theirs is what made it good.
That's so great that Terminator 2 was probably the inspiration for Alex Max's morphing.
Terminator 2 and The Abyss. That's what I talked to Jim Cameron about. The Abyss, you know how that thing went? Those were the inspirations. Well, those things cost like $500,000 a second. I'm like, oh, okay, we got a problem here.
Right,
but Jason, you'll learn this more and more as you direct it. You already know as a director. Yeah, I can't afford it, but that's what I got to get. So how am I going to get it? All right, how am I going to get it? That's the only mission. But it was, and there's 100 stories in the show like that. The story of Alex's cap, that Laura came out, that Laura Slakey, who was as much to do with the success of the show as anybody, because she just was someone asked me about her, what she had done before. I had no clue what anybody did on my set before. They were cool people that were like, yeah, let's get on this and let's try to make it cool. That was all I cared about. And she came on and she put the hat on Alex because I kept saying she needs something, she needs something. And I have a hair thing. I hate hair in the face. Natanya, you may remember that. I just like, get the hair off the face. I bought the face. I want the whole face.
I think that's
And
why
so-
I had pigtails the whole freaking show.
Yes, I want that beautiful face. That's what the world needs to see. So
Oh.
she puts the hat on Alex, the baseball cap. I'm like, I've seen that. You know, I've directed music videos and hip hop and all that. And then Laura turns it so it's backwards. I'm like, that's it. That was all Laura. And then the famous, I guess we can say it, the condom hat. I think you guys refer to it as.
It's world famous, Tommy. It's
I
world
know.
famous.
It's a beige knit cap. I thought, oh, that's really cool. And these behind my back, they're calling it a condom cap. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God. You know, Tom, speaking while we're on the topic of behind the scenes stuff, I'm curious, did you work closely with John Coda to develop the theme music? Because I love
Yes,
that.
I did. John was the one who did the original theme music to it. And I think we wrote it together. What I told him was that I wanted to hear Danny Elfman. I wanted that magical kind of, that had an orchestral point of view to it, but had a magical realism to it. And that was John, definitely was John. You know, John was instrumental coming along. And I don't know why he then left the show. I think he went on to something bigger. A gentleman named Reg Powell, this guy was awesome. I'd known him from Kids Inc. And he was a music major at the Royal School of Arts in London. And part of the gig was at high tea, that the Royal School would go play for Queen Elizabeth at her high tea. Like every day you'd go down, I guess the Queen has tea, and he would be playing keyboards at high tea. Then at night after school, he'd go to Abbey Road and he was playing backup piano on some of the Beatles records. So he was just like, he had this sense of music that was very contemporary to very, very classical. And I'm like, that's what I want. If you listen to it, the soundtrack, that is more of a mature soundtrack than it was an orchestral soundtrack with kind of coolness put into it.
Yeah.
But John Coda was definitely a big part of that inspiration of that theme. Absolutely.
One of the more memorable themes out of the 90s, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I agree. I think I may brag. I think that one, I think Kids Incorporated, but that was the 80s. Okay, that's okay. And then I'm going to take it to the 2000s. Oh yeah. Like the Class of 3000 theme was a platinum record. Oh, yeah. We do our themes right where we come from.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Tommy.
One of my last questions is, do you guys have any upcoming projects coming up?
So Darris actually had mentioned about MMG. You guys know that's my agent too. So and Darris actually helped me get that agent, which again, another testament to just we don't leave each other alone. We've stayed like that, you know, our whole lives. So yeah, I mean, I'm just auditioning right now, and you know, I took a very, very long break from acting. If you know anything about my story, I'm very vocal, I'm sober. So I took, you know, about a decade off to figure out who the fuck I was, who I am and who I want to be in this world. And a lot of it came down to focusing on, you know, being a really good person as opposed to just always, you know, pursuing being in Hollywood. So I took that long break, but now I'm actually writing a book. I just signed with a ghostwriter to do that. So that's very exciting for me. And my agent we're, you know, finding the right literary agent for me and all of that good stuff. I also have a booking agent who has been incredible and sending me to do, you know, I mean, not sending me, it's all virtual. We're in the middle of a pandemic, but I've been doing just really amazing things and connecting with fans in a really personal way, which has been really special for me. And that's the Philadelphia connection. That's my booking agent. And he reps a lot of the other young, you know, 90s stars. So we get to kind of all be together and do that, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm just you know, I'm trying to say yes to everything within reason, and hoping that God provides the right opportunity for me, which, you know, I believe will come about. I feel like I've been away long enough, and I think the timing is right for me to reintroduce myself.
Send.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Natanya Ross. So yeah,
That's great.
that's my deal.
Cool. Jason, what's on your what's on the what are you working on?
Yeah, so yeah, because of the pandemic, as you know, the movie industry kind of shut down. So I'm just praying a lot nowadays, just for a lot of the actors that are struggling and going through what they're going through, and producers and directors going through what they're going through. So it looks at, you know, if we stay positive and we keep loving and encouraging one another, it looks like everything's going to be coming back. I'm very humbled to say that I do have a couple of really fun documentaries coming out. I had one documentary. It's called Second Unit. It's back here, and it stars James Cameron, Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, Mark Wahlberg, and Zoe Saldana. And they were able to come alongside my journey. Jim, you know, James Cameron's been a mentor too as well, and so much help in my life. I learned so much from Jim, and yeah, we are putting out Second Unit, and this is not for me or any of us. It's for the stuntmen and women of our business. I have a real sense of wanting to help and wanting to get the Second Unit and stuntmen and women a voice in this business. So I really believe that the Academy Awards should open up a division for them. So that's what this big push is for. And right when we're finishing it and right about to sell, and we have a network already that wants a Second Unit, I was offered to direct a part 2. And they hit me with the offer and with the idea. And I went back and wrote and creatively kind of came up with an all-female version that I just I can now announce, and there'll be some announcements here in the next 3 months. But you guys get it first. You're very, you know, so, but I just directed Margot Robbie and Jennifer Lawrence, and they are in our project. So those are the last actresses that I was able to direct. And I actually was with Margot just very recently, and it was so amazing, guys. And Tommy and Natanya, you guys will love this. Margot had a crush on my character Scott from The Secret World of Alex Mack. She used to watch the show, and she's from Australia, and there'll be some behind the scenes features that come out with it. Since, you know, I'm directing and producing, this is a project, Alex Mack, that's touched my heart, obviously. So when she came out and said this, it was so amazing. And there's footage of her saying this, and the world will see it. And Margot is just literally, I was introduced to her as she's one of a billion in the world. And she is. There's only 7 billion people on the planet. And like Tommy and like Natanya and like Darris and like Larissa, those are the other that are only 1 in a billion in this world. And she was so sweet and loved The Secret World of Alex Mack growing up. It made me blush. We were on set. My brother is a UCLA film school grad. He's a script supervisor, and I have him on every single film that I do. He's my only brother, so I have him with me everywhere. I'm a film school grad from Cal State Northridge, and so he and I joined together, and he was with me when Margot was talking about The Secret World of Alex Mack, which was so special. And yeah, so those are the 2 projects I can talk about right now. And we're very grateful. So please keep still praying for us. And I'm going to still keep praying for everyone else, that their projects will still keep getting out there and going, because there's one thing that we can never lose, and that's walking physically into movie theaters. I'm somebody that really wants to champion bringing Hollywood back to Hollywood. And it's a big mission of mine, and I owe it to people like Tommy and people like Jim and, you know, all of my other mentors in this business to not chase money, but to chase passion, and to continue to work hard, to do the right thing for others. And yeah, so with that, that's kind of the 2 projects that are coming.
Okay. And I think it's safe to say Matt and I will join you in that passion. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I would be remiss if I didn't say this. I actually do have a regular, it's not a regular job by any means, but I do have a job, like a career outside of acting. So this is what my passion is too. For the last 15 years, I've worked in the industry of mental health and drug rehabilitation. I'm very proud of that job. I'm very proud of that career. I'm the director of outreach for a drug and alcohol treatment facility in San Fernando Valley, which is in California. So I also don't confuse that job with my personal program in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I am very proud to be able to do that. It's the only other job I've ever had other than acting. It's a real dichotomy between Hollywood and people sick and suffering, trying to get better. It's a trip to do it, but I'm really proud of that. And then last year I was made vice president of the Women's Association of Addiction Treatment. So I sit on that board as well, and very proud of those two things. And I was sitting here like, what? Wait, what? That's like my heart. So I just wanted to say that real quick. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Last but not least, Tommy, are there any projects you're currently working on?
I'm a dilettante. No, I had a very strange COVID experience in that I was over here in Hawaii. My wife and I have a home in Hawaii, and I was over here when the world shut down, and I stayed. And so I wrote a novel which is now with publishers. I have 2-hour dramas that are out in the marketplace. And I was just telling, Natanya and Jason at the beginning of this that I'm now ready to go back into the kid space where I have 2 shows that'll go out, and I'm actually start pitching tomorrow. I think I'm talking to Apple or to Amazon or to whatever I'm doing tomorrow, that kind of thing. So for me, it's been interesting where it used to be transactional, everything. What's the next deal? What's the next deal? What's the next deal? Now it's just woven into my life. That's done, create the next. That's done, create the next. I think it's almost in a Woody Allen fashion where I'm finishing one thing and starting the next thing. So there's always something. I don't look at it like anything next. It's just kind of in the process. But I think what I would like to do is, seriously, the remake of Alex Mack is something that weighs on my mind and other people's minds. And it's, we'll see. But that is in this isolated kind of magical place of doing that. I've been asked to do a lot of my shows to reboot them, and I've refused to do them because, and not that I have control, they can go do them without me. I'm just not going to do them, but with Alex, I think I would, if we can do it correctly. As I said, if we can do it correctly. The other one is there is stuff going on at Netflix. There is stuff going on at, where else was there stuff going on? Disney Plus, and just kind of, it's in that development phase. So, I'll definitely will be deciding what I'm going to do shortly in the next month or so. What's the next thing I put into production? And it'll be interesting to see how I do that, because I've not turned my back, but I've turned my attention away from producing in the era of COVID for the moment. And the projects that I'm looking at they're very large, they're very expensive. And how do we do those? And so Jason, I may be calling you to go through some of that stuff. You may be able to give me some advice on how to do it.
Please do.
I look at myself as a writer, and so every day I still write 4 to 5 hours a day. That's like my day job. And then the other part of the job is to hustle and stuff out there. So the novel was something I did not want to come through COVID without having a definitive piece of work that was different than what I did. I didn't want to be one of those people like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What's happening? And be on the phone. Are we shooting? Are we not shooting? I just kind of turned away from that and said, what am I going to do? I can afford the time. I can do it now. There's no better time to concentrate. And it was nice. I'll tell you, it was a scary experience to write in a totally different form. It was scary. It was not, because it was not good in the beginning. It was like, oh, this is crap. I'd fire me. But then, then you just, as anything, you just sit down with it, and it worked out good. And I'm really proud of it. So
Great.
That's great. I actually have one question for you, Tom. How was it like working with John Marzelli?
Oh, man. Marzelli, and I will allow my thespians on to comment after this. Marzelli was one of the most intuitive, I don't know if that's the right word, insightful, interpretive. He was like watching jazz, because whatever you gave him, it didn't come out the way you wrote it. It came out better. It just came out better. I don't know what the, I'll never forget this episode. And I didn't write it. And I think at that time I was doing I kind of stepped back a little bit and Ken was running or something at that time. But he was in a crawl space. He got stuck the whole episode. He's in a crawl space and he's just this madman in a crawl space trying to get Alex and capture her. I thought it was insanely brilliant or brilliantly insane. But I got nothing but love for Marzelli. And now Ken brought him in. He was in one of Ken's theater groups. And as we were casting for the ultimate villain, you know, I knew Daniel Atron in my mind. I didn't care that much about what that other villain was. And Ken had a very clear perception of, and he brought Marzelli in. He used to wear those weird gloves without fingers on them, right? He would do weird stuff like that. He was the original guy portrayed for that was an Asian actor who's now very famous. And he didn't take it because I told him he had to dye his hair white. I wanted that kind of Yakuza look, and he didn't want to do it. And I understand his hair would all fall out. Marzelli was like, yeah, I'm in, I'm doing it. Okay, go do it. So it was great working with Marzelli. It was great working with, who else was in the show? Daddy Mack has to be spoken of, you know, Daddy Mack. My God, I don't know if he was acting or if that was his life. I'm not sure. There was such a, what I knew in the core of him was that he presented, no matter what family came first, he was going to provide for his wife and his children. He was going to be a good husband. No matter, the whole world could blow up, but he wasn't going to miss that basketball game the kids were in. He better get there now. You know, it was, I think Daddy Mack was the father that everybody should have. You know, he's very loving and kind. So,
Okay.
Mom was, oh my God. Oh my God, Luann. Oh
Tom,
my
you okay?
God. No, it's all coming back. See, I had such a tight relationship with the young actors because it was my job as a parent. You are not going to fuck with these kids. I don't give a shit. The network would come down. You don't talk to them. I'll talk to them because you know what the hell you're talking about. And I was very verbal that they were going to have a good experience. I was very verbal about that. I just, you are not going to put these kids in a manufacturing plant. It's not good for them. It's not successful. They're going to come out of this experience, whether they become actors or not, they're going to come out as grounded human beings and be able to make their own choice of what they do instead of be dictated to. That was really my coda. Like, this is an experience for them to have. It is not their only experience in their life. And I learned this because on Kids Inc., where I didn't have as much control and I was new to it, there was some kids that got damaged in that process. And I don't hold myself accountable, but I hold myself, now that I know I have to prevent that from happening and do everything I can to pretend to make it a good environment. So I was always very connected with them, with the younger actors. The older actors, I'm like, yeah, how you doing? Fucking here on time. I mean, I liked them all and they're all nice people, but they weren't part of my consciousness, so to speak. You know, they weren't really part of my day to day. I think I developed a habit with you guys. I think where every morning at 6 or 7 in the morning, I would walk through the makeup and hair and wardrobe because I could always see how all of you were. If you had slept that night, if you had been behaving, I guess is what I would call it. And to this day, I still do that. And adult actor goes, what are you doing here? I go, I just want to know if you're fucking ready to go to work. But it was a great habit. If you go through hair, makeup, and wardrobe and check the director's shot call with him, in an hour, you know exactly what's going on that set that day. And you can feel comfortable. You can feel there's something wrong. And I always checked in on the kids to make sure, people don't realize it because now it's an industry. It's hard to do that work that they do. It's hard. Yeah. It's not a joke, man. It's hard to have 50 people staring at you. AD's going, let's move on to the next shot. Let's move on to the next shot. Let's move on. Everything moving around you. And a lot of times with young actors, they become the least considered. Right. In my opinion, I actually told the director this. I said, Larissa gets sick, we all go home. You get sick, you're replaced in a half an hour. So why don't you pay attention to what's going on here? So that was my take on it. Oh, dude, Oh my God, the network one day came down. The second episode, the network came. I didn't like the run through the show. I rewrote it that night. They came down. How dare you rewrite the show? I said, oh, I got the president of the network. It was Herb Scallon phone. I said, Herb, I brought the executive. I said, one question. Whose show is this? Yours or mine? He said, it's yours, Tom. I said, got it. I said, don't ever talk to me again. And they never did. I was a bit of a bastard. I'm now a little more peaceful. I'm a little more peaceful with, I know how to wield my position with a little more grace. But I was scared. I didn't know if it was going to work. I was scared to death.
So guys, we're about out of time here.
Okay.
But before I let you guys go, I just want to mention that the original Alex Mack website from 1998 is still online. I just found today. Yeah.
Wow.
Who made that thing?
I don't know, but it looks really cheesy, but yeah, no offense to anybody involved. But it is still up there from 1998.
Dude, send me the link, Randy.
Yeah,
Send me
I'll
the link to it if you can. I'd love to see that. I'd
Yeah.
love to see what that is. That's amazing.
It's very interesting.
See, you guys,
What's on
work's
there?
never over.
It's just like there's photos and bios and like frequently asked questions and weird stuff.
See?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
sent the link to Randy?
I'll send everybody
Yeah,
the link after this.
Send me the link, please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd love to see that.
And Tommy, before we go, I just want to mention that you are Richard Gere's doppelganger. I have.
Hey!
I'll
Tommy
take it.
Lynch, everybody!
Heck yeah.
Take it. Thank you. I will take that. That's okay with me.
All
I've
right.
been that was all. You guys, thank you for your interest in it. Your questions were great, and obviously, Natanya, the daughter I never had, just in love with her, and Jason, good luck with your films. And did you guys know I'm always here if you ever need me?
We
You're
love
just
you so
beautiful.
much.
So,
Love you, Tommy. Definitely will be calling you.
all right.
All right, guys.
Matthew,
So much.
I
I'm
love your
Unger.
voice. You got
This
a
is
great
been
voice.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Want to say one more
Wait.
thing. I'm a fan of your show the whole time. Randy's going to be coming on to me. We're going to be celebrating your show in a way. We're popping the champagne to the secret world of Alex Mack in just a couple of weeks.
Pop it,
All
baby.
right.
Pop it.
Thank you very much.
Drink a glass for me.
Definitely.
Bye, guys. Love you.
We're grateful
Thank
for
you,
you.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye, Jason. Love you.
Bye. Love you so much. I'll be seeing you this week.
Yeah, I'll see you next week for sure. I love you.
Love you.
Bye, guys. Thank you for having us.
Anytime.
You're welcome. Thank you.